Hey, everybody, just a quick devotional here from First Timothy 6. I was just speaking with somebody yesterday, a good friend, about a couple of news stories. One of them was just new to me. It happened over the summer of another big platformed, public profiled Christian teacher, minister who had really bit the dust. We uh, just were remorseful and sad about that phenomenon and talking about what is the relationship is that seems disproportionately that the higher platformed a person is, that the more temptation they are under or the more likely they are to fall. Um, and I don't think that this is true in all of these cases, but if we look at First Timothy 6, we can see some trends to watch out for, even in Paul's own day and Timothy's own context, that maybe would give clues to how to be wary of what can trip a leader up. We see that these people that are around Timothy, that he is teaching to hold on to sound instruction, because these teachers are not doing that, and they are conceited and they understand nothing. And then they have an unhealthy interest, it says, in controversies and quarrels about words that result in envy, strife, malicious talk, evil suspicions. You know, again, not every teacher that falls has this sort of persona, but you can see here what I would kind of call the talk radio effect of getting buzz around you because you're controversial. You're attacking, quarreling, taking on others. YouTube itself is a place where a lot of that happens, where Christian teachers will either be attacking each other or they will claim to have special insight, and they will have this unhealthy interest in going, down controversial paths rather than giving sound teaching down the middle, solid, grounded teaching. Uh, that doesn't sell. When's the last time did you turn on talk radio or some sort of talk show on the TV, and the people were just giving balanced, non-speculative, non-sensational, non-controversial, non-quarreling thoughts? It doesn't sell. People click off of that. That's just a big part of the brokenness of the internet right now, is that like that stirring up strife, stirring up fear, all of these things. It says that these result in envy, they result in strife, malicious talk, evil suspicions of others, and constant friction between people of corrupt mind. What's very interesting is that these people, it says, it's going to tie it here to financial gain, that they think that godliness is a means of financial gain. And of course, you can see how that would be possible, maybe even more so today. It doesn't even have to be somebody who is asking for just ludicrous donations, as we often saw with televangelists in the past. It could just be that you can grow your channel, you can get more clicks. Controversy gets clicks. And so that idea then, that this sort of like godliness or this space of godliness and going off into fringe and controversial and negative spaces, would be a means of generating financial gain. It says that these people are robbed of the truth. This word robbed is translated defraud. They themselves, though they think that they're going to get rich, they themselves lose in the transaction. They did not gain, actually. They came out losers because they went down this path. And that's where you can just see so often that these big names, big high profiled people. I don't want to get into listing names, but I can't help but think of just the grossness of Ravi Zacharias's fall, how that was clearly not just a getting tripped up, that he had built institutions around him that built up on one side his financial world and his persona in the Christian world, and then devised whole strategies to give himself access to fleshly sin. And he carried that on as a secret life for a long, long time. That they thought that this would be a means of financial gain. Paul gets into what actually brings gain is godliness and contentment together. Godliness and contentment going together is great gain. It's a repointing of our attention to being content. I've been more and more awakened to the idea that contentment is not simply like a lowering of desires, uh, but a enjoyment of what God has given. You know, when we pray the Lord's Prayer, we pray, "Give us today our daily bread." But then we just go and stuff bread into our mouth without thinking and enjoying it, and enjoying that the idea that God had given it to us. That we often move past the thankfulness straight to just indulging. And this idea of contentment is not a withdrawal from the desires to eat or to enjoy the things that God has given us, but just actually take them in deeper and to take them in a grateful way. Paul's content with very little. He says that he brought nothing into the world and we can take nothing out of this world. It's reminiscent of the first couple of chapters of Job, where Job says, "Naked I came into the world, naked will I leave it." But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with that. We will be okay. And those who desire to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. So those desires themselves are animated, that desire for more. And it says, what does it say here? It says, fall into uh, many foolish and harmful desires. That these desires that move past God being lifted up and us just receiving from him daily bread and being grateful for that and asking to be forgive others and asking to not be led into temptation now are just plunging people into all sorts of ruin and destruction. For the love of money, far from being like this path to gain, it is itself the root of all sorts of evil. And so these like various harmful desires are coming out of that. Some people eager for money have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. And you can just see that if you watch these stories. I try not to read too many of the stories and get into salacious details. I was reading one of a fallen professor, lots of allegations about this guy on Christian Today, and I found myself needing to just stop. But I can at least see that this person has not taken steps on the steps of life. He has pierced himself with all sorts of griefs, all sorts of loss. And though, the wise will see that and learn from that and say, Lord, how can we stay down the middle, not be given to controversy, not be just always stirring the waters, but to be solid and to also not let our hearts be chase every possible path of harmful desires that plunge people into destruction, that we would not be defrauded of the truth, robbed of the truth. That truth, there's something just very true about this contentment that comes with godliness. And that's my wish for myself and my family and my church and for you.